let's talk about the grammar. So like R's tidyverse, which they make at Posit, where you now work, Jeroen. With Polars, there's also a grammar and a naming convention that is encouraged to preserve semantic clarity, which means that not only can you understand your code better when you come back to it later, but other people that you're working with can understand it more easily as well. In the book, you two compare expressions in Polars to recipes. So specifically, I'm gonna read a little snippet of your book here. It's if you think of an expression as a recipe, then the operations would be the steps, and the functions and methods would be the cooks. So how does this metaphor shape your philosophy about best practices with data transformation design in order to deliver clean, readable pipelines, especially in large collaborative projects?
Big chunk?
The short answer is no more brackets. That's when you read Pandas code, there are many brackets in there. And in a lot of cases, it's very difficult to reason about what the code is actually doing. And so with Polars, you take a different approach, not only with those expressions, which are indeed the building blocks, those small recipes, but also the part where you use the expression, namely in the entire query. So it's almost like you're writing a paragraph, right? To come back to book writing, you're writing a paragraph of things that you want to do. It's a logical element in your entire pipeline, and that's much easier to reason about.
Yeah, and I think one of the things I've always liked most about Polars is the very declarative approach of what you're writing down. So in Pandas, it can be the case that you're very focused on specific operations in parts of your data frame, which can make it hard to follow what exactly is going on under the hood. But with Polars, you declare what you want as end result, and you just leave the specific processing and optimization to the engine, and that makes it way easier to read.
Maybe this is a good moment also to clarify that we are very appreciative of Pandas, right? We're not here to bash Pandas at all, right? That's what you sometimes see online, is these comparisons that are not done in a very
elegant manner.
Not in an elegant manner. That's not us. Without Pandas, there wouldn't be Polars, right? So we are very much appreciative of what Wes McKinney and his team have done.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's the standing on the shoulders of giants, right?
Wes is now also, so Wes, the creator of the Pandas library, which for people who aren't already practicing data scientists, you may not be aware that Pandas has been for some time now, for a decade at least, the de facto standard for working with data frames, which are a kind of data that's like how you could imagine data are in a spreadsheet. So in like an Excel kind of tool where you can have columns that represent different kinds of data. So you're not restricted to having just a matrix of numbers of float values. For example, with a data frame, you could have, similar to this idea of column names, and then you could have, one column that's string information like company names, another one that's number information like how much revenue those companies had in a year. And so for a decade or more, Wes McKinney's Pandas library, 15 years. Wes McKinney's Pandas library had been the standard for working with data frames in Python, and they're hugely important because you're constantly, as a data scientist or data analyst, you're constantly working with different types of data like that, and so working with them in Pandas has been key. But Polars has taken off again like hotcakes. It's burst onto the scene recently. Richie has led development of this, Richie Fink. But it's so I realize that you guys don't, it's not nice to bash Pandas, but why are so many people switching over to Polars today? Like, what's the kind of nuanced argument that even maybe Wes McKinney himself would forward?
So I think one of the when we were talking with Richie over the many times we talked with him over the course of writing the book, one of the main experiences that shaped how he wanted Polars to work was some frustrations that he had when running his pipeline, and only 20 minutes in you run into some trouble and it crashes, and that's not something you could have seen up front. So this is one of the things that one of the experiences that helped him shape what Polars ultimately became. And there's also a lot of good things that he saw in how Pandas works that he wanted to take and put in Polars. But generally, like Pandas became a big inspiration, both good and bad, for Polars and also other libraries. I think like Spark, especially you can see that the syntax of the Spark is a lot like how Polars turned out. And there's other elements, like for example from the Rust language that that Richie took to implement in Polars because it just made it work so nicely.